Hello, Intactivists! In the news this week, we have Bloodstained Men, Forefront, Intact Nigeria, a brand new Intactivist group we haven't discussed on this channel yet, and much more coming up. In POTS news, the cyber ad campaign, we have reached over 1.07 million people thus far. Hoodie by Nature, Darwin, Breaking the Cut, and of course, POTS is spearheading this campaign. Circumcision law reform is taking a break. Also, a special thanks to our donors, because we would not be able to do this without them, and those who do the POTS e-commerce program and the Care Buzz. All of that helps a lot. Remember to join my Discord where you can go and volunteer on making Intactivism and POTS better. We have lots of jobs that is very easy to kind of difficult, depending on your skill set if you want to help. In the video special, does Fortune even know how to be honest anymore? The blunder the chief operations officer made was crazy if unintentional, and even worse if it was intentional. I definitely recommend you check that out, especially if you're interested in Fortune, the company. And also, Melina is back on POTS with her final Part 3 interview that got released this Saturday, answering circumcision law reform's question of why American intactivists aren't that effective. And in Bloodstained Men news, Bloodstained Men are on tour. Well, actually, Bloodstained Men just came back from their Chicago, Illinois circumcision crisis protest tour. And they have lots of videos up, and you can definitely go ahead on their Facebook and on their X, and you can see it if you want to go ahead and see them in action. Pretty cool stuff. And also, don't forget to like, which I'll go ahead and like these really quickly, because I kind of forgot. So don't be like me, guys. Don't forget. Remember to go ahead and go through and like Bloodstained Men stuff. And bonus points if you go ahead and comment. All right, and in a brand new Intactivist group, RAFA, which stands for Rights and Freedom Always, which is a Belgian non-profit organization. So this non-profit organization of Godels, Lichens, among others, files a complaint against boy circumcision's irreversible mutilation. So this is translated from Dutch to English, just so you guys know. So there might be some translation errors. But essentially, the nonprofit organization Rights and Freedom Always, RAFA, are going to go ahead and do a lawsuit. It says, there's a quote right here saying, "A first problem is that we as Belgium are the only country in Europe that pays back circumcisions. That would change in 2026. So something is already moving," finally says Lichens. But that doesn't solve the problem. The problem is that it is irreversible mutilation that goes against the International Convention of the Rights of the Child, a child who can't choose that. And it says, the complaint, which is directed against unknown persons, deals with international blows and injuries to minors and unlawful practice of medicine. The initiators point out that the official figures do not tell everything. There are also many circumcisions performed outside the regular medical circuit, it says, sometimes by people without any medical qualifications. This is the intention of what they're trying to do. The intention of the complaint is that a judicial investigation will be conducted, but also that there will be a social and political debate about circumcision. The organization advocates a legal regulation that provides boys with the same protection as girls, because girls' circumcision is already prohibited by law in our country. These are situations that are no longer possible in the 21st century, says lawyer Walton van Steenbrug, who represents the nonprofit organization. He speaks of torture and mutilation. These practices must be stopped. There needs to be an investigation, but politics must also step in and set the bar for boys and girls. All right, so if you guys want to continue reading that, feel free to pause the video and continue reading it. Also, if you guys want to know a little bit more about RAFA, I can't actually access anything without having to go and hit a paywall, but AI answered this for us. It says, Rights and Freedom Always is a Belgian nonprofit organization, ASBL, established on August 5th, 2021, which is registered office located at Durmstraat 299030 Gent. The organization is actively involved in advocating for children's rights, particularly concerning the practice of non-medical male circumcision. RAFA, which includes prominent figures such as Godel and Rick, has filed a formal complaint against unknown individuals with the investigating judge. The organization argues that only about 1% of approximately 25,000 male circumcisions performed annually in Belgium have a medical justification, and the remainder constitute a violation of children's rights. The group emphasizes that these non-medical procedures are a breach of fundamental human rights, aligning with principles such as the right to physical integrity and the protection of children from harmful practices. RAFA's efforts are part of a broader campaign to end non-consensual circumcision of minors, highlighting the importance of informed consent and the protection of bodily autonomy. So that's a little bit more about their group in case you're interested. All right, and in Intact Nigeria news. So Ade Solomon recently put out a video on the Intactivist Africa channel. Feel free to go ahead and watch it and like it, and also make a comment real quick, really easy. Don't have to think too much about it, like I did for the algo. And thank you, Dr. Pecker, for reminding them to also subscribe and like to this channel if you guys haven't already, and also leave a comment down this channel too as well if you would not mind. But we'll be talking more about Ade Solomon here in the news soon. All right, and in Forefront news, Forefront has made a brand new video, RFK announcement on Circ, Israel, and other topics. This was released about a day ago. Don't forget to also like this if you do like it, and also leave a comment. But essentially, this was pretty much what he said. This is about circumcision, some politics, Israel, and other topics like leadership. So if you guys want to go ahead and listen to that, you definitely can if you want. All right, and on to the Intactivist calendar for the week. Intact Global, in about 2 more days, October 23rd at 1:30 p.m. local time, they will be having their historic court hearing, Hadashak versus Oregon, Equal Protection for All Children. This will be at 1200 Southwest 1st Ave, Portland, Oregon, 97204, United States, courtroom 9C. Now remember, guys, you can also go ahead and get a live stream of this if you cannot make this in person. All right, 15 Square, they have a guest presenter, Ron Lau, is going to discuss the Foreskin Diaries. He has an informal presentation. This is Thursday, 23rd October 2025, 13:30 to 15:30 GMT. This will be online for 2 hours. So if you want to go ahead, definitely go and get your tickets now versus later, because it's going to end soon, in literally about 2 days. No Circ, Michigan. Okay, so No Circ, Michigan. Michigan State Medical Society Annual Conference on Bioethics. That is happening Saturday, November 8th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So that's about 15 days from now at Doubletree by Hilton, 3600 Plymouth Road, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48105. So if you want to go to that, you definitely can. And Bloodstained Men. Next year, their 2026 Super Bowl circumcision crisis protest. It is going to go on for about a week. I'm going to cover this more when it gets closer. All right, and on to the polls of the week. Speaking of RFK from the Forefront News, I asked, what do you think about RFK Jr. condemning infant circumcision by claiming that the use of Tylenol for pain relief afterwards causes autism? This was a little bit split here, but the majority said that this helps intactivism to lower the circumcision rates, and other people said that this will have no effect on the circumcision rates whatsoever, and one person voted other. However, nobody answered B, which hurts intactivists. So no intactivist thinks that RFK condemning infant circumcision, even though it was through saying, oh, hey, don't give your kid Tylenol because it causes autism, no intactivist thinks that it actually hurts the movement. So that's really good to know. Once again, guys, if you don't like how this turned out, please go to my Discord and go vote, because your vote matters. And on to the fundraisers of the week. All right, so help Brother K reach his birthday goal. This did raise by a couple $100. It is currently at $406 raised out of $4,000. So about 10% of the way there. There's about 1 week left of this fundraiser. All right, guys, this is a brand new GoFundMe. Support Ade Solomon's urgent medical needs. This is the same person you saw right here. So he is having issues with his health. It says, I've been living with chronic hepatitis B, and recently my health has taken a worrying turn. And this talks about all the tests that he needs to go ahead and get. he continues on explaining his conditions and stuff like that. But what I want to go ahead and get to is what he's actually done for the intactivist movement, because he does do a lot for the intactivist movement. So he is an asset. So it says, things I've achieved so far as an intactivist. This is straight from his GoFundMe. It says, street campaigns. We've taken our message directly to the public, standing on the sidewalks, holding signs, and starting conversations with strangers about the right to bodily autonomy. Church outreach. We've entered spaces where tradition often dominates, speaking truth with compassion and planting seeds of change in communities that rarely hear this message. Raising intact children. We've broken the cycle in our own families by choosing to keep our children whole, protecting their right to choose for themselves whenever they're old enough to understand. Public awareness via our public interviews. We made people stop and think and ask questions. Even if one parent chooses to keep their child intact after hearing from us, that's a life changed forever. And here is his personal goals or desires long term: to help make genital autonomy the social norm, not the exception, to see the laws enacted that give minors equal protections from non-consensual genital cutting, regardless of gender, to build a network of like-minded professionals who collaborate on positive change, to develop educational campaigns that are compassionate and fact-based so the conversation shifts from anger to empathy. My long-term goal also includes to move to the U.S. where education, work, healthcare, and stability are more readily available. It does say that he lost his hospital job right here. It says, in 2019, I was dismissed from my hospital job after I refused to perform a non-consensual circumcision on a 3-day-old baby boy. As someone who is firmly against genital mutilation, I could not compromise my ethical beliefs or medical responsibility to do no harm. I had never performed circumcision before and have remained committed to that stance. Unfortunately, my refusal led to being pushed out of the hospital system, where circumcision rates are 85 to 90%. This has made it difficult to secure employment with health benefits in the same field. Since then, I've been providing home-based care for elderly people as an alternative way to continue serving the community with integrity. So this fundraiser, he's trying to raise $2,400. He's currently 12% of the way there with $282 raised so far, but there's no new donations this week. All right, intactivism, equal protection pursued in court right now. So we got a brand new donor, gave $100 raised out of his $4,000 goal, which is about 3% of the way there. So congratulations on the first donor to donate to this. Okay, Hoodie by Nature. Support Hoodie by Nature. He has currently raised $1,150 out of his $1,600 goal, which is about 72%. One person gave him $50 in the past week. So he's definitely inching his way up there to a $1,600 goal. Your Whole Babies LA Prego Expo booth. So this is happening pretty soon, guys, but they have raised $75 this past week, making their total raised $1,100 out of their $4,500 goal. The Health Equality Campaign fundraiser, critical call to support nationwide male bodily autonomy. They have raised an extra $50 this past 4 days, with a total of $8,565 raised, or 9% of their $100,000 goal so far. And circumcision support genital autonomy for all at Pride. Okay, they have raised no new donations this past week. They're still at $1,190 out of their $1,500 goal, so they're still at 80%. GAUDAF, no new changes here. They're still at $1,201 for phase 3. Still quite a ways away from their $35,000 goal. All right, support Intact Global's fight against genital mutilation. They are still at their $44,059 raised. There's been no new donations for the past 24 days. They're at 89% of their $50,000 goal. Again, I don't know when they're going to get matched by doctors opposing circumcision or by GAUDAF. I don't know if they're going to show that. I'm not really sure if they calculated that in when they said a $50,000 goal. Maybe they needed $75,000 and they just took off like $25K or whatever. I'm not really sure. And the donor box Intact Global Organ Litigation Effort, no new changes here. Still $410 raised. All right, and Prevail over the system. We are still at 29% of our $15,000 goal for the year. Remember, guys, every single month we're going to go ahead and put in what we make from our Posse Commerce program and the Care Buzz. We're going to add that to the goal as well to give you a realistic update of how close we are to the $15,000 goal. So that does help for sure. All right, and on to the Intactivist growth for the week. Last week, Prevail over the system was at 1,063 followers. And this week, Prevail over the system is at 1,141 followers. That's a 81% gain, or a 7.64% increase for the week over week growth. That's a pretty awesome increase in followers, officially tying our YouTube subs with our X followers now. We are tied up here at 1,140 followers on both platforms. Also, guys, if you're watching this, feel free to follow me on X if you haven't already, because that does help. All right, that's all what I have for the news. Don't forget about watching Does Fortune Even Know How to Be Honest Anymore? And also Melina's final part 3 interview. Please like and share to get this out to more people. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.
Prevail over the system. We rise through precision. Uplift transition. Rebuild.